Terry, how would you expect the White House will respond ultimately to the weekend's events?
I think what the White House will end up doing is taking whatever Israel and the IDF come up with. Frankly, they're not going to have the ability to second guess that. And net, as Norm said in your last hour, Israel is going to be able to continue a Rafah operation despite these mistakes and despite these difficulties.
We heard from the White House talking about that they've been clear with Israel that Israel needs to take every precaution possible to protect civilians. Beyond that, which we've already heard a number of times from this White House, could they take any tangible actions?
Well, theoretically, sure they could, Anne-Marie, but I very much doubt they will. The IDF and Israel generally have a very strict set of engagement guidelines of their own, and if they're not following them in any particular case, there's going to be a lot of repercussions. Beyond that, though, the White House, I think, in a practical sense, is hemmed in two ways. One is American politics. Everybody's very quick to start talking about the effect in swing states for Biden, but let's not forget you have the Jewish Americans, Israeli Americans who are very numerous and will have an effect if Biden starts to break with Israel. And then there's also the kind of diplomatic end of this, where Biden needs both the Israelis as well as the more moderate Arab states to counter Iranian influence, and they can't accomplish any of that without Israel.
And then we have the former President Donald Trump, according to the Washington Post, promising to crush pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses. How do you see these two individuals defining their policy on Israel going into November?
Well, I see Biden as nuanced, in part because he has to be, in part because this White House's predilection is for nuance. But Trump has the freedom to be about bluster and cheerleading, and trying to paint in very vivid colors. So that's what he's doing. But at the same time, what we saw in a Trump presidency before, again, was a much more nuanced approach to Israel and the Middle East, albeit with the idea that there needed to be some policy goals set, as there eventually were in the Abraham Accords.